Of course, it's been a long journey to get to this point. In 2019, Daily Maverick journalist Paulie van Wyk wrote an article about what's taking place at VBS Mutual Bank and brought the silence of two key PIC officials into the spotlight. Paulie van Wyk joining us now via our telephone line just for her own reflections, given what has been said in the past and what's being said now. Paulie, it's lovely to have you on the SABC. Thanks very much for making time to speak to us. And yeah, I mean, you spent a number of time, or some time, I should say, following the money trail, as it were. And there've been all kinds of commentary around your reporting in the past. Let me just begin by what your sentiments are this Friday morning, given what's emerged from this affidavit.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I am surprised. I didn't know that Matotsi, or I didn't think ever that Matotsi would turn in the way that he did, and that he would give such an extensive affidavit, because we must remember that Matotsi was the spider in the middle of the web. He was the kingpin. He's the person that ties all of them together. So what he did was to highlight who his inner circle were, so the bank managers, who pushed the button, who broke the system, where the money went to, and who was really responsible. Then he tells us who gave them cover. Those were like the PIC directors and some of the commission agents like Kabelo Matsepe and Danny Msiza from the ANC in Limpopo. So it's extensive. The network is shown really, really well. And then he supports, I think, what journalists have been writing and showing for a very long time. Right. That Danny Msiza received a lot of money, that Kabelo Matsepe received millions, that Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu received millions, and that the politics in the country really need to be questioned, because at this moment, and he said so of the EFF specifically, was that their political muscle could be bought. And that I find sad and questionable, and the rest of the country really needs to sit down and ponder and think about what that means.
It really is damning, some of the claims contained in that affidavit. You say you're surprised that, this detail is coming from Matotsi himself. I wonder if there's anything in the affidavit that took you by surprise. We heard of other names emerging, including Dondo Mokojane, for example, and the PIC.
Yeah, I really am worried about that claim. And because I'm worried, I phoned I messaged Dondo yesterday. I hold him in high regard. He was the DG for Treasury for a while. He's now at the GPF Chair Board of Trustees. So he got a lot of this country's money, and that's very important for all of us. And I asked him about these allegations, sent him the affidavit, sent him the screen grabs, and Dondo denied everything. He said that it was hogwash, that there's no evidence for these claims, and that at the time he was fighting VBS and he was telling the municipalities to withdraw their money from VBS, and that if the claims are true, he wouldn't have done that. And there is some support for what he says from sources. But then again, his current employer at the Moti Group, it's all a questionable circumstance. And it needs to be questioned. And I think this particular line of Matotsi's affidavit needs to be fleshed out, because there's not much detail in there. And that really did take a surprising turn and a worrying turn as well.
Yeah. Of course, the VBS story has highlighted a number of issues in a country like ours. One of them is our ability at many turns to let down the most vulnerable people in our society. But also it's shone a spotlight on our ability to actually track financial crimes and ensure that people who are involved in these sometimes very complex corrupt activities are found. How confident are you that we'll be able to see this through, given the many challenges that have been in the way in the past?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Can I just hang on first to what you just first said about the victims? And I think it's very important that we never forget who these victims are. In 2021, and then by the end of 2023 in December, I visited a woman in Venda, and she lived in a very small village close to Thohoyandou. And I went to her because she was one of the victims and one of the people who lost a lot of money that she gained and received via magwinya selling and farming in her backyard. And when I saw her in December, I was so shocked because she lost 20 kilograms of weight. She lost some teeth. She grew old very, very quickly in 3 years' time. And when I left her, she said to me, will you please, and she can't speak English and I can't speak Venda, we talked through a translator, but she said to me, will you please come back soon because I don't have much time to live. I don't have food to eat. I'm so sorry that I cannot offer you anything here because I don't have money. All of it was stolen. But please come back to me and tell me that there has been some justice. And we cannot forget that story. There are many, many people like that.